What's up, Internet? Attack Slug here once again, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about games journalism, more specifically, bad games journalism, of which there is plenty, but there were a few stories this week that caught my attention specifically, and I wanted to ask you whether you think it's just fanboys, or is it people being paid off by companies to spin stories in a positive nature toward those companies. So, first and foremost, I want to talk a little bit about this Titanfall story that came out the day before the game came out on Engadget. Now, to preface, I did play Titanfall, and I think that game's really fucking fun. So I have nothing against the game specifically. The game itself on the Xbox One is a bit hamstrung by the power of the system, but that's kind of a whole different story that I'm not going to get into. The bottom line is they made a fun game, and you should probably play it. So there was an article that went up on Engadget the day before the game came out, and it was talking about the secret sauce and the power of the cloud and all this other nonsense that fanboys just eat right up, that want to believe that Microsoft has this secret power that they haven't unleashed yet in the Xbox One, while on paper, the Xbox One is a less powerful system than the PS4. That is just how it is. So this article went on and on about the cloud and everything else, and as I'm reading it, I get this distinct feeling that it is regurgitated from some PR mouthpiece somewhere. And so I get down to the paragraph, and I'm going to put this up here, where it says, Titanfall's advanced AI is handled by the Azure servers, and your PC or Xbox or PC's innards can be used to achieve more detailed graphics and the game's silky smooth frame rate. So the game's out now, and anyone who's actually played it, at least on the Xbox One, is going to agree that silky smooth does not exactly pertain to the game's frame rate. It does run really good most of the time, but anyone who's played Last Titan Standing mode can tell you the frame rate does not hold up. And if you look at the reviews on Giant Bomb, Polygon, etc., they will all mention that the game's frame rate does not hold at a constant 60. So to call the frame rate silky smooth is disingenuous at best. In addition, the advanced AI, anyone who's played the beta and who's now played the final game can tell you that the AI is dumb as rocks. So those statements in and of themselves have me going, well, this is just a PR piece. Why is Engadget of all places running this piece? And I can't tell if it's a fanboy or if they were, paid off by Microsoft. The other part of that article that really sent off red flags, and I will once again put this up right here, that says, many look at Titanfall as the first true next-gen game, offering an experience we haven't yet seen on last-generation hardware, like the PS3 or the Xbox 360. Now, if you know anything about Titanfall, if you followed anything about Titanfall up to this point, you would know that on March 25th, Titanfall will be on the Xbox 360. So really, who was proofreading this article? Who decided that this sentence was a good idea to put in this article when the game is clearly coming out on the Xbox 360? Not only that, but now that the game is out, there was an excellent Titanfall article on Eurogamer from the Digital Foundry guys that talked a lot about Titanfall and how it wasn't originally even designed with the Xbox One in mind because the Xbox One didn't exist yet. These are the guys that left Infinity Ward and started their own company, and at the time, next-gen consoles had not been announced. So to say that this was built from the ground up for the Xbox One is fucked up. In addition, that Eurogamer article had a fantastic piece about the cloud, where they say Respawn isn't making any grand claims about the cloud as a gateway to next-gen nirvana, where they explain it's just a bunch of computer capacity. Now, if you've played PC games for a long time, you would know that server-based AI is not a new thing. They were doing it back in the late 90s. So to claim that server-based AI, which is what Titanfall is using, which is what the Azure cloud is some kind of a new fancy tech, is just complete bullshit. And it should be treated as such. Don't lie to us. Don't try to mislead gamers to saying this is some fancy new thing, because it's not. In the end, I can no longer look at Engadget as a place to find impartial games journalism. They aren't a game site, they aren't dependent on publishers, so why are they allowing tripe like this to get published? Moving on. IGN. Last night, the numbers from the February NPD came out, and the NPD are the ones who track console and game sales numbers, and it showed that the PS4 was ahead of the Xbox One by about 10%, about 28,000 units, give or take. Now, IGN puts up the article headline that says, Xbox One made more money than PS4 in February. Now, that technically is true, because the Xbox One costs $100 more than the PS4. But this is trying to spin the narrative in a positive way for Microsoft. Why would you do this instead of actually reporting on the story with any kind of journalistic integrity? Now, I should mention, later on, they did change the headline to read PS4 outsold Xbox One in February, but not by much. That is a better headline. That is still kind of saying, oh, well, it isn't that big of a deal. Xbox One's still cool, you guys. And that's just... I don't know if this Mitch dude is just a fanboy or if he is a shill. I should mention that back around the time when the Xbox One was coming out, they had this new IGN Pins beta brought to you by the Xbox One. So really, games journalism continues to be busted. And on the specific note of the Mitch dude who made this headline in the first place before they changed it, he was the same dude last month who was saying that the naked eye cannot perceive the difference between 1080p and 720p unless you have a TV that is 50 inches, which is blatantly bullshit. I don't know where he got that information from. Maybe he needs to see an eye doctor. It's just fucked up. And those are just a few more examples of why games journalism is broken. Anyone who is paying attention is going to notice these things over and over again. And make no mistake, there are a few good guys out there who are doing excellent work, but they seem to be few and far between. Overall, it just seems like a bunch of bullshit when the consumer is just looking for an honest and unbiased opinion, and you get these fucking bullshit PR fluff pieces that don't actually mean anything or are purposely misleading the consumer and trying to change the narrative in a positive way of either who they are a fanboy for or who is paying them. Once again, this is a tax slug giving you an honest opinion, giving you an unpaid opinion. I'm a dude in the bedroom, and I love video games. So I will see you next time on this channel.